Hey guys, with Christmas right around the corner, with Christmas season already upon us, I thought it'd be fitting to talk a little bit about Saint Nick, little old Santa Claus, and the fact that Saint Nick raised the dead. He raised many people from the dead, specifically children. He's known as the saint, the patron saint of children. Many of his resurrection miracles had to do with kids. In fact, it's said that he raised 100 children from the dead, some being burned in the fire. There was a time where there was 2 children burned in a fire and he raised them from the dead. I've gone after it. I haven't seen anyone raised from the dead that was burned in a fire. It was one of the more intense situations. But you know what? It's coming, and Saint Nick pulled it off. He also raised a couple children that had drowned. Saint Nick was amazing. I'm going to tell you a pretty intense resurrection miracle of Saint Nick in just a little bit. Some of us don't even know how he has anything to do with Christmas at all. I remember the first time Saint Nick, I even knew of his existence, was because of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe with C.S. Lewis, the Narnia series. Saint Nick shows up at one point and gives the kids some gifts. And I remember my dad being excited about that, not understanding how Saint Nick had anything to do with Christmas, wondering where Santa Claus was, right? Well, the fact of the matter is, we derived Santa Claus from Saint Nick. That's who inspired Santa Claus's life. And this is the story mainly that makes us attribute or associate Santa Claus with Saint Nick. All right, so Saint Nick, back in the day, there was a father who had 3 daughters. He didn't have a dowry to pay the marriages, right? The marriage dowry. We don't do that in American culture, but obviously it's just when a daughter was going to be married off, the father of the daughter would give an amount of money or land or cattle or whatever to the man that she was going to marry. And without a dowry, a woman wasn't going to get married. So this father was super poor. He didn't have enough money to do that. And he actually was entertaining the idea of selling his daughters into slavery just so they could get by. Saint Nick figures this out. And so one day, so that one of the daughters can get married, he drops a bag of money through the window of the house, and the daughter gets married off. Well, he does this again for the second daughter, throws it through the window. Second daughter gets married off. Good, right? And then we have the third daughter, but the dad didn't know who was giving him money, so he just locked all the windows because he wanted to find out who was doing this. But Saint Nick, being humble and being someone that didn't want to have the spotlight on him, he checked all the windows one night to pay off the third dowry, to drop this bag of money in, but he couldn't find it. So what he did was he crawled up on the roof and dropped the money bag through the chimney. And the third daughter obviously was married off, and the whole thing turned out okay. But that's where we get the idea of Santa Claus visiting homes. Saint Nick gave a lot of gifts to children, so we've blended the gifts and the dowry thing together with Santa Claus riding on his sleigh with reindeer dropping, coming through the chimney and giving presents and stuff like that. That's how we've linked the two. There's the song, he knows when you are sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake, right? We all know that song. Well, that song, it's so crazy because that omniscience there that song communicates actually stems from a real story out of the life of Saint Nick when Saint Nick got a word of knowledge. I just want to tell you guys the story real quick. This is just phenomenal. I tell this at every school of resurrection because it's just so amazing. This has tapped into that John 14, greater things they will do reality. One day, Saint Nick was in prayer in an area where there was a famine. And he gets a word of knowledge that there is a wicked innkeeper who, because he can't give meat to the people that are staying at his inn, he went out in the street and found 3 children, butchered them up, cut their bodies up, okay, and then stuck their bodies in a brining barrel to cure the meat, okay? Hence this omniscience, right, that's attributed to Santa Claus. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. A lot of times we sing that towards children, kind of with a performance mentality, you better do what's right or you're going to get some coal, right? In fact, this story has to do with the wicked innkeeper who had killed some children. St. Nick sees this whole thing in a vision, goes into town and finds the inn that he saw in the vision, confronts the wicked innkeeper, and the wicked innkeeper takes him down to this barrel. Now St. Nick prays over the barrel. and then tells the innkeeper to open the barrel. And when the innkeeper opened the barrel, 3 children crawled out alive and well, raised from the dead out of that liquid. Come on. That is, man, I've been telling that story for years, and every time I tell it, it's just encourages my heart so much because there's so much love behind that. There's so much compassion behind that. There's so much victory in that. It's a statement that nothing's impossible with God. It's the reality that if we will believe, we will receive the things we ask for in prayer, right? It's just faith of another level. It's creative miracle. It's nothing's impossible with God. It's the reality that God created us from dust, right? He can put a body back together. In fact, there's lots of different stories. We're going to be doing more of these YouTube videos. There's lots of different stories of creative miracles where bodies were irrevocably damaged and God healed the body, brought new organs. Maybe he turned embalming liquid back into blood. I mean, God just does amazing things because nothing's impossible with God. Now, this stuff sounds crazy, but the reality is that Christ himself was dead for 3 days. Lazarus was dead for 4. And God brought these bodies back to life. He raised the dead. And if he did it then he's doing it now because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Right? He is the giver of life. He comes to give life and life abundant. Okay, but here's the crazy thing about that barrel story, about that omniscience that we even sing about today. That it's really not omniscience, right? It was a word of knowledge that St. Nick got. Omniscience is obviously a characteristic we only want to apply to God. Now, I was researching this story a little while ago, and I found out that even Godiva chocolate, not long ago, during Christmas time, they would release a solid chocolate statue of St. Nick, right? And at his feet was a barrel with 3 children springing out of it. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That is amazing. Even today, they've discontinued the chocolate. Gee, I wonder why. But even today, if you look on eBay, you can see and find and buy the molds for that chocolate statue. It's just incredible. So sometimes we can feel like Santa threatens the real, true message of Christmas, right? The real reason for the season, right? But in reality, St. Nick and even Santa Claus, if we understand where Santa Claus came from, St. Nick points to Christ. His whole life honors God. And so this Christmas season, let's just enjoy Christmas. Let's enjoy the fact that Christ came to earth as a vulnerable little baby on our behalf, that he died for our sins, was resurrected again, and that the life of St. Nick completely and totally honors that reality, that Christmas in every way, shape, and form is about Jesus. We can go into that with that confidence and just enjoy our families, just enjoy giving each other gifts, knowing that Jesus gave the greatest gift, right? And knowing that St. Nick was a patron of children. He loved to give gifts to children. If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor, like, comment at the bottom, tell us, did you know this stuff? Is this amazing? Isn't God incredible? Like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out. And we have an upcoming book, The Dead Are Raised. It will be our 5th book out. If you haven't read any of our books yet, you can look up Stories of the Supernatural on Amazon, or How to Raise the Dead. That's also available. We have a couple fictions as well. Everything's at oneglance.org. We love you guys. Be blessed. Enjoy Christmas this year. Be praying for us. We're going to go to India right after Christmas, train a bunch of pastors, spend time with the poor, heal the sick, be with the dying, pray for their life and their bodies. We're just going to go for it. So be praying for us. We love you guys.